Okay, this is the install video for my Works Stage 2 carb turbo kit. As part of the kit, I'm also installing a larger fuel pump and larger 700cc injectors. Those are the orange boxes behind. What you see on the table here is the major components of the turbo kit. The first being the actual turbo. I decided to go for a ball bearing turbo, so this is a Garrett GT 2860 RS. Very nice. And with the turbo we have a heat exchanger which is part of the intercooler system. So this will cool down the charge air. And this is a air to water interchange. So if you were to look inside there, you can faintly see the actual heat exchanger itself. The heat exchanger will dissipate heat with the front mount radiator. You see the radiator there is relatively small, but it can be small because it is a water to air radiator rather than the normal air to air. Behind the radiator is a battery shield. We also have over here the up and down pipes. This is the air intake, and in one of the many boxes around the place, for example there, we have the piping to connect the intercooler to the turbo and to the throttle body. As part of the installer, I'll also be installing an oil cooler, and there is also a clamp kit that is used to clamp up those vacuum lines that tend to pop off once you start adding boost to the engine. What you see on the table is a number of the ancillary components. There are the piping that is the coolant piping that goes to the front mount water to air radiator. You'll see in the Bosch box is a coolant pump, and on the table you'll see a whole set of envelopes, a whole set of plastic bags. Each of the plastic bags has a number, and that number refers to the page in the instruction manual where I will need the components contained within those bags. And this is one way that I used to check to see that I had all the components, and also that as the install would make progress, I would always have the right parts at hand and I wouldn't ever run the risk of putting in the wrong parts. Okay, the first thing to do to install the fuel pump is to look at a couple of YouTube videos. I found the one from the FT86 Speed Factory quite good. So to get to the fuel pump resides in the fuel tank, and you'll need to take the passenger seat base out behind the driver's seat. So you'll need a 10mm socket, and you'll need to undo the bolt. Push down at the back of the seat while lifting the cushion. That's the theory anyway. access to the cover that holds the fuel basket and the fuel pump. You'll need a flathead screwdriver, and you'll need to pry the cover off. And apparently it's very sticky. There's just an enormous amount of sticky stuff holding the cover on. It's a matter of breaking it and lifting as far as you can, just going around. There we go. With the last bit of gunk. And put this to one side. The first thing you can do is remove the electrical wiring. It's a matter of pushing on this tab. Lifting the connector up. Now we can move the cover right away. Okay, you'll see that the top of the fuel basket is quite dirty, so since we're dealing with fuel, it's best to wipe all the dirt off as best you can so that you reduce the risk of any dirt contaminating the fuel tank. Now that it's somewhat clean, the thing to do is to take the fuel line off. The other thing to note is that you'll see some blue lines here. These are the lines that you use to line up the fuel basket with its retaining bracket and the actual fuel tank. There's a blue line there. So just make sure you keep it in mind. So to undo the fuel line, just click on the clamp and wiggle, and we should have it coming out. Yes, fuel did come out, so use the cloth to wipe it up and move this line to one side. paper that got caught in the gunk as well. The next thing to do is to loosen the retaining ring. So the best thing to do is get a small hammer and a flathead screwdriver. It's on quite hard, so it will need a bit of persuasion. But you can see that it's starting to move. There we go. That with our hands now. Okay. Okay. Remove the ring and the gasket. And now we should be able to get this out. Again, I'll just make sure I clean it up as well as I can to avoid contaminating the fuel as much as possible. Okay. Okay, so when lifting it, we have to be aware that there is a float and therefore the fuel sensor, so I need to lift it. Try and there we go. And here we have the basket out. I think the thing to do is to try and empty as much fuel as possible back into the tank. Now put this fuel basket, I think let it drain first, and then take the fuel basket and put it into a bucket. Okay. And before we do that, we have to undo the pickup. Again, that's the same sort of deal. You've got two little clips. It's a matter of squeezing them and then pulling the fuel line out. If you can avoid dropping it in the tank, that's good, but obviously I didn't. Okay, to remove the fuel pump, you have to first of all remove the circlip from the bottom of the rod that goes through. So simply grab a pair of pliers and pull the circlip out. The top should now come off, like so. The wires are a little short, preventing you from pulling it out all the way. So just loosen the wires. Spring to one side, and then gently just put that to one side. What to do now is to take the connector off the top of the fuel pump. There's a little tab here, so just get a screwdriver, click the tab and pull the wire off. Now, once you've done that, you'll have enough room to get to the actual fuel pump itself. The fuel pump is contained within a small container. There are 3 clips to undo that. So just undo the clips with your fingernails, and there's another one apparently just around here. Now we've got the fuel pump out, like so. Okay, now the top of the fuel pump is, the top of the holder for the fuel pump is held together with the bottom of the fuel pump is held together with 5 clips. So you'll need to release those clips all at the same time, which can be challenging. So as they will pop in again, it might be worth just sticking a screwdriver in to hold it, and then using another screwdriver to release the clips. Starting to come. Well, that's not particularly easy. So, let's see. A little screwdriver still there. Okay. Let's put this one around there. Let's open this one up. There we go. Okay, there we go. There's the fuel pump. And you'll see there's a little nylon collar, and there should be a gasket, a small seal contained within at the top of the fuel pump that we can just fish out. I might just need to get a hook for that. Okay, I have a little pick now, So let's get this little O-ring out. There we go. Put that to one side. Actually, I might just put on top of the fuel pump, the OEM fuel pump, just to keep it in one place. Okay, so that's the OEM fuel pump. Now we need to, first of all, just clean any mess that we may have put onto the container. Okay, so what we need to do here, we need to pull off the base, and we need to cut the pickup from the holder of the fuel regulator. To do that, we'll need a Dremel. Okay, now we need to cut the fuel pickup away from the regulator holder. So get your Dremel. Now from the other side. Okay, there we go. So what we have is the top of the regulator. It's been sliced off, so I just need to clean that off a bit, and we can use that to insert the new fuel pump while holding the regulator in. Okay, so I've got the new DW Deutschwerks 65C fuel pump. So I'll just take the caps off the bottom cap. Now what we need to do, we've got the installation kit. We need to put 3 O-rings on the intake. So we've got O-rings. We just put on here. Actually, and we've got a little bit of lube. So I have some lube, which we'll just put on the O-rings, just to help them slide down. One. 2, and then the third one. Okay. So with that in place, we should be able to insert the pump into its holder, like so. Okay, now we can put the regulator cap back on. Which we put here. now we can put the fuel sock on. Like so. We'll just bend the pickup along the side of the basket, along the side of the container. Now we need to put this back in here. Okay, now we have to put the fuel pump back into the container. And this is done like so. You hold the fuel pickup in and you do it so that you're not twisting any of the fuel lines. Like so. That should just clip in. This goes over. There we go. Okay, with that in place, we need to replace the OEM wiring wires with the one from the Doucheworks kit. So there it's a matter of undoing the wires and taking it around the route and then holding the clip in and taking out the wires. And that's the wrong one. Put that back in and do the other one. So that was the sender wire, that was the sensor wire. Now this is the fuel pump wire. So we'll put this back in, just like so. Route this wire around like we had previously. And this will go in. Like so. There we go. Now it's just a matter of reassembling everything and putting it back in the car. Okay, with the fuel pump now installed and functioning correctly, it's time to actually start on the turbo kit. The first thing to do is to take the bumper off. That requires taking the front side markers off, which you have to be very careful because the clips might break. Okay, we've finally got the side markers off, and I've got some help, the two Nikolais. And we got the car up. That took about an hour and a half to get those two side markers off and lift the car. And to be honest, when Nikolai came it took only 10 minutes, so what does that say about me? Anyway.
You managed to tire them off, so I can just keep them.
Yeah, I weakened them, yeah. Anyway, so now we're going to start on the turbo install. So we have to we have to take the bumper off, and then once we've got the bumper off we can start taking off some of the ancillaries. Do you need a screwdriver?
So there are a lot of plastic things,
But I think that under tray stays.
but there are a few clips, or yeah.
But so only where the white joins the black under tray, I think.
Yes. So we need to remove one bolt then.
Is there a bolt?
Yeah. Like a screwdriver. Cross.
Oh.
Okay.
Nicola?
And then there is a clip.
Okay, the bumper's coming off. Just grab it from the front and pull. You have to do it.
You can leave the tripod. I don't want to be the brake.
What's this plausible deniability? Okay, now be careful, there's spotlights there, so they have to come out.
Which side?
You pulled the bulb out? That's one way of doing it. Cool.
Иска да оставим цена.
Ами не, остави. Няма значение. Оставай.
Аз може да откъде да го
There we go. Taking off the sound tube, the noise generator. In fact, the whole intake tube to the throttle body has to come off as well.
The big one.
And there's a bolt in here.
I think we have rubber melting.
Really?
Yeah. It's just glued together from the key.
Nah. There's 10 mil here. I think that whole thing comes off. So that and that comes off. Yeah. You probably want the extension.
Yeah.
So taking off the sound tube, Pete. This is going to be such a crap video. Yeah, I'm going to take the whole battery out because it has to come out. Okay, and then we're going to take the battery out. And the battery. What's next?
Shock tower.
Oh, that's the alternator, is it?
Connector on the shock tower.
Oh, the shock tower. So these...
Shock tower is this.
Three tie-down points for the grey battery cable. One push-lock connector on the shock tower. One slide lock connector on the injector cover bracket.
Intaking.
We've done that.
And one push-lock connector behind the intake manifold. I think we did this, right?
Yeah.
Already we finished.
Yeah.
We're going to the next stage.
Toscana.
So what's that? Oh, that's the wiring from the injector. Okay, let's do that. So Nicola's taking off the strut brace, since that's where the turbo is going to go. Okay, we're trying to get the injector covers off now. Once we have that off, then we've removed the golden bracket holding all the wiring loom, and we've cut that in two, we've primered it. As you can see, some of the bolts are very tight. Okay, we've taken off the airbox, and now we are taking off the injector covers to put in the new injectors, the larger injectors. While we're at it, we're also going to reroute the oil coolant. So we'll be taking off the pipes that I've put on, and we'll put on the ones that Works has given us. So Nikolai's working on the passenger side, and Nikolai's working on the driver's side. We've got the passenger side injectors in. That was an almighty pain, but not as much pain as the driver's side injectors. There's just one bolt that holds on the injector rail that seems to be frozen, and there's no room to actually get any leverage on it. The electrical connections on the injectors are extraordinarily difficult to remove, so we're almost at our wit's end as to what to do. To be continued. Injectors on the driver's side done. That only took a couple of hours. As you can see, my trusty workmates are beavering away, reassembling the fuel lines. But we did test everything, and it looks like we haven't got any leaks with the new injectors. The car did run, so we're all good. That's probably going to be it for today. Tomorrow we have to start with the oil cooler, fixing that up, and then we can continue on with the turbo install kit. Yes, I must not forget to do the clamping kit too for the vacuum lines. See ya!